saying, what shall we eat? What shall we drink? Or wherewithal shall we be clothed? For after all these things do the Gentiles seek. For their heavenly Father knoweth that what you have need of. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. We live in a wonderful place where we can get up, eat, do things like this. Brother Juleson's on when the second coming is going to be, and he got up there and said that. I kind of chuckled, but we don't know the hour of the day which the Son of Man cometh. We want to be found faithful and not worry about things. I hear you talking to someone who hoards all kinds of stuff down her basement. Food and food and blankets and all these different things. A person does not need to worry about that. We don't want to be foolish, but we need to be wise. But we have to really trust God, especially in these last days, because we don't know what's going on. We don't know how strong that our ground is. We want to be built on a rock that isn't shifting sand. And we need to teach our children that we are going to be faithful and how it is. Because they might not have a sure foundation yet in their lives, their rock. And I know that that's the only thing we can take to heaven with us, is people that we have actually helped along the way. I know our ladies group is going to where Nancy lives, and our Bible study in Mapleview Apartments. And we're building a friendship and a foundation there that we're hoping doors open up for teaching them more. Even if they won't have a Bible study with all the ladies. We had 3 last time and 2 this time that were different, that we can build a friendship that they might want a Bible study another time, and stuff. So while it is yet day, let us work. Let us teach. Let us learn, but to always remember Jesus is there, taking care of us, guiding us. Don't take thought for the morrow. He's going to be there taking care of us. Okay.
Give it over to
You want to just sit there?
I'm not going to stand. I'll just sit here. But Brother Jeff sang a song, Life is Like a Railroad. But I was going to say, for my testimony, life is like a book. And I think of this song, how he's held me in his hands forever. Jesus has always been a part of my life, even from birth until this very day here today. I've been blessed to be raised in a home that taught the truth, knew the truth. We didn't always live the truth, but we tried our best. But he's never forsaken us. And my life is like a book, and I don't even know how to start this, but I could open any chapter of my book and I could get a quote. When Anna was going through cancer, one that sticks in my mind is, Jesus must really trust you. And I thought to myself, how does this, I don't want to be trusted. If this is a cross I have to bear, I don't want to be trusted. And he said, just like Job, he trusts you that you're not going to turn from him. And then when she was in her remission, a message was preached about the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and all the 25 baskets the disciples were in the boat getting tossed around on the shore, and they were scared. And Jesus is like, well, do you not see those 25 baskets? Did I not just feed all these people yesterday, these miracles that can happen? And you neglect to notice these remnants of something that I had done for you. And, we're reading in the Bible that we have for this year. Boy, those Israelites, they had to have stuff beat over their head, I swear. And a lot of it was if they sinned, they were put to death. And so growing up, a lot of times when bad things happen to people, tutoring from the pulpit led me to believe, I'm going to say maybe I'm the only one, assume that someone must have done something because something bad happened to them. And when that teacher at Faith Christian Academy said that to me about Anna, I thought, what a wise thing, because we didn't do anything. Cancer happens to people. You know what I mean? It rains on the just and the unjust. And bad things happen to everybody. And so, but what doesn't happen to everybody is that they hang on to Jesus' hand. You got to hold on to Jesus' hand. And so many of you know I've been kind of gimpy around here for a while. And I've seen every ist you can imagine. Finally, they took me to a neurologist, and I saw him in, it would be November, December of 2023, and he did a MRI, and it was like 3 hours, and Lordy, I don't know, it was hard to be in one of the machines for that long. Did everything. Ruled out Parkinson's, ruled out MS. I mean, all these things that I had been Googling. I have this symptom, I have that symptom. Didn't have any of those things. And at the time he said, nope, you don't. They were trying to even rule out ALS. You don't have those things. And so then he said, come back in a year. So I was going to go back this past year, and I saw him. And in between the time, all these years, I've been getting weaker and weaker. And people see me walk, and they'll say, what's wrong with you? Are you in a lot of pain? Oh, my goodness. Do you hurt? Sister Lynn, you've even said, do you hurt? No, I don't hurt. I'm just weak. I don't know why I'm weak. I'm just weak. I'm getting weaker and weaker. I don't know. I know what's wrong with me. So I said to him, what's wrong with me? And he said, oh, you have a slip disc. And he left the he's going to give me surgery. I have a slip disc. That's what my problem is. So then I go back, and I had us pray about that needle test. It's called an EMG. They're awful. If you don't know if anybody's ever had one. Yeah, they're terrible, aren't they? Anyways, it's like touching an electric fence. But they touch you the first time with that little zappy thing multiple times, like 20 times, right, Keith? A lot of times they touch you with that thing. And then they take a needle, and they poke it in your muscles. And they got to hear this noise if your muscle is alive or active. And they do this to rule out, is it a neurological problem or is it a muscular problem? So when I had that test done, and went back in January, and he said, he comes back in the room, I think I know what's wrong with you. And I'm not good with acronyms. You guys know how this younger generation, they speak with letters. I have no idea what those letters mean. In fact, I've done some of those letters, and I've looked it up, and they're not good. So so make sure you know what those letters mean before you text them or type them, or heaven forbid, put them on Instagram, because you can't delete it then. But anyways, so he said, do you have an MND, a sister to ALS? Well, I've heard that word ALS. I know it's not a good thing. So I was just dumbfounded. So I took my little cane, walked down to the door, sat on a wheelchair down there thinking, what is wrong with me? Because I take my breath. I had to catch my breath because the car's ways away. So I messaged my kids and Alan. I said, they tell me I have an MND. I don't know what that means. But so we come home, and I looked it up. It's not good. MNDs are motor neuron disease, and pray for those people that have that. That's terrible. And ALS, and boy, I had every one of those symptoms. And it was our church's game night. And I had already in my head thought, instead of looking back at my previous chapters and those baskets of bread over there, I had already told myself, I have ALS. And ALS, you only live like 3 years. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh goodness, I only got a couple years left to live. I was tormenting poor Al. Well, if I really only have a couple more years to live, I don't think I want to do this, or I really want to do that, or I was giving stuff away. I put names on things. People say, do you want this picture? Well, you can have it. I gave my granddaughter my diamond ring because she loves it. If Grandma's not around long, I want you to know she can still have it. I'm not going to be cremated or buried with this thing, but she can have it. And that's what happens with this ALS disease. You just get so overtaken with the despair, and Al, you can marry somebody else, I don't care. And then I'll hear our song, Forever Yours Faithfully, My Journey. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't want you to marry somebody else. I can't stand it. You can have that old car. I don't care. No, I don't want her to have that either. Anyway, I was an emotional wreck. Instead of looking back at my baskets, I was an emotional wreck. So on the way, they were going to send me to the University of Wisconsin-Madison to have this all figured out. Well, I called there in 6 months to see a neurologist. I'm not waiting and living in this shadow of. And if that is really true and someone does have ALS and they only have 3 years to live, that's an awful long time to wait to get a confirmation. That's terrible. So my daughter Anna, whom also was treated at Mayo, tormented me because she does bully me. She does. She's a redhead, but she does bully me. She bullied me into calling Mayo, and Justine was like, you have good insurance. If I had good insurance, I'd go there too. So I called. I hate to be a burden on people, and I don't want to be a pest, and so that's why I didn't want to call and ask. But it was all online. I just filled out all this stuff. 2 days later, I get a call, and I can have an appointment. Some people don't get into Mayo that fast. But I think when you have a neurological disease and they think it's ALS, they get you in pretty fast. And so they interviewed me on the phone. Do you have all these symptoms? Some I said yes. Some I said no. One of them was, do you have a difficulty speaking? And I said, oh no, I sure can talk. I said, I'm sure there are people waiting for that symptom to kick in. But I do not have that one right now. And that's another thing. This whole time, even living with all this, as a native, part native, my dad was a big jokester. We handle stuff with humor. We might be hurting on the inside, but we're laughing about it on the outside, because that's about the only thing you can do. Is anyway. So we get to Mayo on the way there. Ellen and I are talking all the way there about what's going to happen, and I had already had myself 6 months into something that's not going to be good. Cried on the way there. He wheels me into the Mayo Clinic, and I go in the men's bathroom by mistake, is all flustered. And some guy was standing at the urinal, and I said, I'm sorry, sir, did I go in the wrong bathroom? And I said, good thing I'm seeing a neurologist and checking my brain out. He just laughed, and I went in my right bathroom. But anyways, a lot of things like that happen when you're nervous. But we get there, and the neurologist, the first one that saw me, said, what is it you want from this appointment? And now I know Jesus heals, and I know he has me by his hand. I said to him, no, just because I said this doesn't mean I don't believe this. I said, I want a Mayo miracle. Everybody talks about their Mayo miracle. Come here and they'll find an answer for you. I want you to tell me I don't have an MND or ALS. That's what I want to know. In my heart, I didn't really think it was going to happen. I really didn't. I thought for sure I had that disease because I had like all of it. So then he looks at me with kind of a little sad face, and he proceeds to examine me right out, like 2 hours. I've never had anybody take that much interest in me. Even Al don't take that much interest in me. He doesn't. But anyways, examine me for 2 hours. And then he goes and he sits down. He says, I don't think you have ALS. I think it's an acronym, something that starts with an F, and I have no idea. He said, but I'm going to go get the head neurologist. He comes in, does a lot of the same exams, and he sits down. He says, I don't think you have ALS. I think you have something called, and the only reason I remember this acronym is I poop. You have IBM. I don't know what an IBM is, but that's what he thinks. So they send me down to have another EMG, which now this is the third one I've had, fourth one total. Went down, had another EMG with this neurologist, and she was very nice. And I told her I'd have grandkids I'd like to see grow up. I'd like to live a little longer. And she tells me, after she does this exam, it took me a lot. You got to stretch flexion muscles, and it sounds like pops. I said, that's popcorn popping, or that one's egg frying in the pan. That's water boiling. She started laughing, but my calf didn't make any noise. And she said, that one's pretty far gone. And that's where it started. In 2016, I was bit by a dog. And that's the thing is with this IBMs, it can either be a trauma that happens to you. It can be hereditary, which is what we're going to go back and find out. And it could be maybe a vaccine, which I did take the first shot. And or it could be medicine. They don't know what brings this on. It just doesn't really happen. And out of 1 million people, guess how many people get an IBM? 50. And out of 50 people, guess how many are women? 16. I got a 1 in a 16 million chance of having this rare muscle disease. But I still got them 26 baskets over here. I got these 25 baskets I'm counting on. So I guess I'm going to say my testimony is that that's basically what it is I'm facing a difficult road, and I have to go back for some more tests. And if you heard the prayer request today, there were a lot of people in our family, my biological family, because Pastor's my biological brother. And isn't Pastor a good pastor? Boy, he has the right things to say when you're feeling down. Sometimes I'll call him and I'll say, no, listen, Frank, I want to ask you this not as a pastor. I want to ask you this as a brother. Now, will you talk to me like a brother today and not like a pastor? I don't like to be talked to like a pastor. But anyway, and he does. And I have another brother that's a pastor, and he likes to talk to you like he's your pastor. So I don't like to confer to him for much advice because he will like to really spend it, give it to you. I'm just being honest, But anyway, so I talked to Frank this week and was telling him about some of my concerns. And the thing is, he's suffering right now, too. He's weak. Our sister Lynn is weak. My niece Jessie is weak. And it does seem like, if you think about the Old Testament way, that there's a lot of stuff going on. Who did something in our family? And that's what our older brother likes to preach. He told us we needed to have a week-long prayer revival to get over this. So, and we do. Who doesn't think we need everybody needs a week-long prayer revival. It's not just because any of us are doing something wrong. It's just that life happens. These things happen. So Frank sent me pastor sent me a good quote, a good scripture this week. It's in 2 Corinthians 12, and it starts with, and this is where Paul is struggling with an illness, a thorn in his side. And so it starts in verse 8. Concerning this, I pleaded with the Lord 3 times that it would leave me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is perfected in weakness. Therefore, I will most gladly boast all the more about my weakness, so that Christ's power may reside in me. So I take pleasure in weakness, insults, hardships, persecutions, and in difficulties for the sake of Christ. For when I am weak, then I am strong. So in our weakness, I went to start my physical therapy. I said, you know what? I'm just going to hold Jesus' hand. Josh said, I'm going to pray for you. Jesus gives you what you need when you need it. And so if you're facing a difficulty or something that's hard, and don't look at it like I've sinned and something bad's happened to me. Look at it like an opportunity to witness. In fact, when I did tell some of my customers, they came to my office, that I thought I had this disease, and they all were like, I said, hey, I'm not worried about it. Jesus has this. I'm weak, but my faith is strong, And they're like, that's a really good attitude. So if you can face things and still show that Christ through these things, I'm not ruling out Jesus ain't going to heal me. He can make me stronger. Some of these muscles can come back. So I'm just saying. But if you're facing something difficult, don't be afraid to face it. Let people see it. Just like, who was it? One of Jesus' disciples and was in the Chosen, and he didn't get healed. Remember? What was his name? Thaddeus, I think it was. He didn't get healed of his weakness. And Jesus said, but just think about a better testimony, because you're preaching. God heals. But I'm still